Did you drop something?
That's right, folks. Not once, but twice. I dropped my chain, which is absolutely frustrating, especially when it happens during a sprint.
Boy, oh boy, is this new update causing some controversy. And by controversy, I mean confusion. Because I am one of those people that my software hasn't updated, so I'm on the old gear, quote unquote, old gear, versus those of you who have the updated version, have the SL8, have the new ranking or pay per enhancement structure or whatever it's being called. And so the wheels that I'm on, I don't know whether or not they're going to be good. So I started off on the disc wheels, ended up switching from the disc wheels and went to the Zip 858s because I know at least those are still really good performing wheels. Even though I know the disc 858s are better performing according to Zwift Insider. The SLA Tarmac is better performing according to Zwift Insider. But then again, on a stage like this, the Tron bike might actually be the best bike. But since I don't have the update, I don't know. I can't tell. I just can't tell. So I'm not going to risk it. Going to use something that I know I can perform well with the 858s. And actually, I probably should go with, you know what? I'm going to switch to the 7/8s because in the past, you know what? No, I'll leave these guys. We'll see how this goes. It is a sprint race after all, points race, so these would be better suited for the sprint because the sprint's a little bit downhill, so I at least get some of the weight transfer, but I don't get the benefit of the uphill. And so the way the sprint works is you actually go uphill first, and it goes like kind of ramps up, and then tabletop, and then you sprint. And so my plan is to take advantage of that tabletop and kind of power up the tabletop and then power up the ramp, sprint from the tabletop. Especially if I'm in the front group for the FAL, then I'm going to try and go on a solo breakaway, maybe, cross my fingers, solo breakaway. Probably not solo because a few races I've seen today, other people have done the same. But do my best to kind of launch, and then from there, power up the ramp, and then start my sprint from the actual tabletop. Because while it is a longer sprint, if I start from the tabletop, probably 30 seconds versus 10 seconds. If I can launch my arrow at the tabletop, then those first few seconds, I'm going to be building momentum. So as I cross the line, I'm going to cross the line much faster. And if I can get up and above 60 kilometers an hour, potentially even 65 kilometers an hour, then I know I'm not going to lose a lot of momentum on the downhill. So that should put me in a good spot for the sprint contention. My personal best is right around 9.5 seconds or so, maybe a little bit less, somewhere around there. So if I can break into the 8s, I think I'll be good. I think I'll do well enough for these, for this sprint, for FTS at least. FAL is a whole different ballgame. That's got to get there first in order to be competitive on the FAL. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right, let me jump on Discord, and I will catch you guys after the race.
So I'm having this weird freezing issue with my camera. Not sure why just yet, but hopefully I'll figure that out soon. So This is stage 3 of the dirt racing series on the park perimeter loop, which I have had some great success in the past
Correct.
racing in the New York map. But this time around, I am racing in a category that is
Oh,
way above my pay grade. I'm in the Amethyst group, which I've been in for this whole dirt racing series. And at times, I feel like I am literally the caboose at the bottom of the barrel
yeah, that's
with
always for me. Always for
a
the first
few
handful of kilometers.
others because it is absolutely hard. And when these guys go, they go. It is no holding back. So as we cut through the park here and go alongside uh, what most
The cyclists
likely
pick
is
up a
the
little bit.
west
You go.
side uh, of the park,
Hey, let's do this right behind me.
we're pretty much staying together and coming up to the main feature that really is going to make the biggest difference in this race, which is that first big hill. Um, and, you know, ended up choosing the zip wheels, as I mentioned previously. And as we were getting through this race, especially at this part here, I'm feeling good, feeling like, you know, these wheels are going to work for me. Not really feeling like I'm struggling. But again, the thought is always in the back of my mind of whether or not, the update, because some people have the update, some people don't, whether or not there's going to be different dynamics when it comes to, how people race, am I in the right kit versus others? And that, I think that can
Yep.
plague the mind. And so as we hit the entrance to the hill, to this hill, which is obviously a steep slope downward, I start to get onto the front. And at this point, my goal is just stay with the group as we climb the hill. I am kind of leaning on the previous two races that I did, not only with the dirt racing series last week, where I did pretty good in holding on to the group up the volcano KOM, but and then also the Zwift games on Monday, where I finished top 10 up, not only up the it's my or my it's top half of the grade combo, but also finishing in eighth place up the epic KOM. And so I kind of leaned on that and just kind of looking at what kind of power I can put out. But always the first part of the race, I'm always like my legs are getting used to the tempo, and they always end up sore, always end up hurting, and always kind of feel like I overdo it in the beginning. As you can see, I'm holding right around 4.5, 5 watts per kilogram, and the group is starting to stretch out significantly. Got a couple guys off the front, and so because I want to stay with this front group, I'm just pushing as hard as I can and trying to hold the group. I'm not even looking at my watts at this point. My focus is just, can I stay with the group? Can I, stay on their wheel and hopefully, come over, crest over the top of this hill with that front group so that way I can stay on the draft. But ultimately, this became the last time I would see this group because as we come over the hill, as you can see, I'm in 50th place right now, and the group is starting to, pick up pace a little bit. And even though I'm doing my best to pedal and kind of push through, the group is just getting further and further away from me. And as these Sisu riders come through and a couple others come through, I'm thinking I can hold their wheel, but lo and behold, they're not really pushing that hard to kind of bridge the gap. And so because the group is so stretched out, I end up just kind of falling behind. And that's it. That's essentially the rest of my race is, with this cluster in the 50 something range of riders. So I'm going to fast forward to the first sprint where all the drama really kicks off for me. And so as we get to the base of the sprint, it's just me and two others at the moment. Our group really hasn't taken hold of what it will ultimately become. And so I'm doing my best to stay on the back of this group. The main group is not that far ahead of us. They're only 9 seconds, 10 seconds ahead. So I'm thinking with this sprint, I could potentially catch, catch the back of this group. And then once I get onto that front group again, I should be able to hold them for a little while. So I shift down as best I can and start launching my sprint. Obviously, I launch from a very low RPM. So I'm just kind of rolling through and pushing as hard as I can as we hit the downhill. You see these couple riders come past me, or start to come past me, and then I quickly
Fuck!
start to catch up.
God
And
damn it.
that's when it all went
That's
down.
potty mouth, dirtbag.
My chain popped off. My foot came out of the clip, which thankfully I didn't break anything. No hospital visits, but that killed my momentum. And ultimately, I feel like it killed my race because that was a moment where that front group really just took off. They became more out of reach than I could have imagined. You can see on the right hand side on the sauce bubbles, they are completely split apart. Um, but ultimately, that was, for me, that's kind of where my motivation to finish this race kind of fell down. It felt like it fell down the toilet at the moment, but there's still more sprints to do. So I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to fast forward to the FTS and the last part of the race because the FAL, at this point, there's no point in going through because I am in 60th place at the moment, or 59th, and there's no way I'm catching that front group in order to do anything, earn any points on the FTS. And in this case, I actually ended up crossing the line in like 31st place, so I didn't get any points anyways, which is unfortunate, because again, I felt like I was doing really good for the FTS, but we'll see how I do on the next one. And so jumping way forward, it is now a cluster of about 9 of us. For a while, we were hanging about 12 or so people coming through. And as we're coming up to the base of the KOM, I'm doing my best to kind of not put myself off the front. So kind of easing back, shifting down gears a little bit. But also trying to not let them get too far away because ultimately having this group in front of me is going to help me with the FTS. And so as we start coming through, I'm shifting down as we get to the top of the tabletop. I launch my aero boost and my sprint as best I can. So I start coming through one by one, picking them off, and ultimately just getting as much momentum as I can, hitting about topping out at 67 kilometers an hour, which I was real happy about. And as my sprint ended, you can hear the grinding of my chain once again. And so at that point, I was just ready to clock it in. As you can see, my sprint ended up at 8:82, which I was happy about because that's a new PR for me. And on the zip wheels, considering they're not the fastest for the sprints, they're still really good. They held their own. They did good. And that's exactly what I wanted. And having that group with me definitely helped make that happen. And so as I get my chain back on, I'm looking to just finish as strong as I can. And so as I get going again, I'm still in my 53 11, somewhere around there, 53:12. So I use that momentum to just kind of pull myself forward. And at this point, I've got a kilometer and a half. So I know I can time trial it the rest of the way and just push as hard as I can in order to catch back on. I'm in 55th place right now, but that is not where I want to end this race. Because even though, I'm not going to really do well in terms of finishing positions, it's still nice to make the top half, even if it's the bottom of the top half. And so I just keep, pushing the upper 200s, low 300s. I start to catch up to these next couple riders. And as I start approaching, we're right now kind of on a tabletop and, looking to see as we start getting into, there's a dip in the road as we start to come up to it right here. I know that I'm not that far away from the finish, so I'm looking at launching my power up. And so as I launch it, I just kind of push through these two riders and I come across in 51st place. But as I start to hit this hill, I shift down a little too far and didn't really think about, where the people behind me were at. And so as you see me, one rider came through, second rider came through, and I just I didn't intend on them getting through, but ultimately that's what happened. So I came across the line in 53rd place, which again, I'm happy to be at the bottom of the top half instead of at the top of the bottom half. So, and I ended up walking away with a few points on the FTS for the team. And so hopefully we will keep our fourth place standings or move up, because we did have a couple guys that did some great work today.
Well, that did not go as planned at all. And so when I looked up the race earlier on Zwift racing app, I did see that I'm basically at the bottom of this category in terms of power. I got to see exactly where, like, what the top and bottom ends of the category are. But basically, the group that I'm in is the Amethyst group, which is essentially all Bs, strong Bs, all the way down to strong Cs like me. And so when I looked at it earlier, Zwift Racing app said I was going to be in like 60 something place. So I am glad that I came in 53rd, partly because I hustled there at the end. I did end up losing quite a bit with my chain falling off. That kind of held me back a little bit, and then I had to put a lot of energy into catching up, which I did not expect. Chain's been running great the last few stages, and so that's really disheartening, really frustrating. So hopefully this weekend I'll figure something out. I'll probably remove a link just to see if that helps with any issues. Double check the length and all that. So outside of that, did good on the sprints. First sprint was not the greatest, partly because of the chain drop. I think I lost about a second or so there. Second sprint, I ended up coming in 9th place. I don't remember exactly what I got on the sprint, but I did get a good placement with 9th place, so I'll pull some FTS points for the team, which is always good. And then we had a couple guys high up on the rankings. I think our top rider was in 16th, around there. And then a couple more. Let me see if I'm still in the, yeah. So our top rider, let's see, I know we got a 30 and 31 with Hotch and Hamza. And then D. Savine on 16th and Brian Hall on 13th. So good placement, good strong guys. Leduc in 8th. Kind of surprised at that. I've raced with him before, and I feel like I don't know what to think about that. Obviously, it was a good day for him. Riz, I figured he would do great. He's actually the strongest sprinter in the group, in the category. So I'm not shocked he's in 4th place. Especially since he could have probably sprinted and then just kind of kept going. So lots of strong guys. And again, some guys in our group, not just in our Anarchy team, but Disrupt is part of the Dirty Watts team. So Riz and them guys, did good.
You drunk?
Michael Huang in 7th place. Again, guys that I've raced with for TTTs and other dirt racing events. So it's good to see them up in the categories, up in the top 20 or podium, in the case of Riz. So, or close to podium, I think. Right? Is that 3rd, 4th, somewhere around there? 4th, so almost podium. But still great showing, great, great.
He looks like he has a concussion.
Yeah, great showing overall. So, boy, oh boy. Wow, this race hurt. This race hurt. So that is it for me. I'm going to sign out and go get some rest, because tomorrow's another TTT. and then figure out what's going on with my chain. All right, guys. Thanks for joining in, and I'll catch you guys on the next race. Remember, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. 5 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Zwifty Chat, so check it out. See you guys. I'm exhausted. That was painful. That was a painful race. Guys, Miguel from that thing you just watched. If you know where that reference is from, please leave it down in the comments below. One of my favorite channels. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. Watch videos, playlists, whichever pop up. But thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I hope to see you next time.